I'm getting remarried next week, so I brought flowers to my ex-wife's grave, as I do every year on this date. A boy walking by stopped, looked at the photo on the headstone, and said quietly, "Sir, that lady lives with me." Unable to speak, I followed him through the streets, but the moment the door opened, the cemetery was silent except for the wind moving through the old oak trees. I stood in front of Emily's grave, placing a bouquet of white lilies beneath the headstone. "Happy birthday," I whispered. "I guess this is the last time I'll come here as a single man." It had been 7 years since the car accident that supposedly took her life. The police identified her through dental records after the vehicle caught fire. The casket had remained closed. I never questioned it. I was too broken to question anything. As I turned to leave, a boy no older than 10 stopped his skateboard and stared at the photograph engraved on the stone. He frowned. "Sir, that lady lives with me." I blinked. "What did you say?" He pointed at the picture. "She makes my lunch every morning. She told me not to talk to strangers, but that's definitely her." Every sound around me disappeared. "Where do you live?" I asked. The boy hesitated. "My grandma says not to tell people." I reached into my wallet and showed him my driver's license. "My name is Daniel. Please, I need to know." Something in my voice convinced him. "It's only a few blocks away." I followed him through quiet suburban streets, my pulse pounding harder with every step. Finally, we stopped in front of a small blue house with a garden full of roses. The boy opened the front gate. "Grandma, someone wants to see you." The front door swung open. A woman stepped into the sunlight. The mug in her hand slipped from her fingers and shattered on the porch. She looked older. Her hair was shorter, but those green eyes, I'd know them anywhere. "Emily," I whispered. She covered her mouth. "Oh, my God." For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then tears filled her eyes. "I'm so sorry." I could barely breathe. "They told me you died." She nodded slowly. "I know." An elderly woman appeared behind her. "Emily, who?" She froze when she saw me. Her face turned pale. "We should have known this day would come," she murmured. Inside the house, the truth unraveled piece by piece. The accident had been real, but Emily had survived. She suffered a severe brain injury and woke up weeks later with almost no memory of her life. The hospital had contacted the only emergency number they found. Her estranged mother. Her mother hated me. She had always believed I distracted Emily from pursuing a better career. Instead of searching for me, she moved Emily across the country. When fragments of Emily's memory returned months later, her mother lied. She told her I had remarried within weeks. She said I never visited. She even showed her fake social media accounts and edited photos to make the story believable. Heartbroken, Emily stopped asking questions. Years passed. Then her mother became ill. Before dying 6 months earlier, she confessed everything. Emily immediately searched for me, but by then, all she could find online was my wedding announcement. She believed I had finally moved on, so she stayed silent. "I couldn't destroy your happiness again," Emily whispered through tears. I stared at the engagement ring on my hand. Everything I thought I knew had collapsed in a single afternoon. "I never stopped loving you," I admitted. She smiled sadly. "I never stopped loving you either." That night I drove home without remembering the trip. The next morning, I called my fiancée, Rachel. She listened, without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then she quietly said, "You still love her." "I don't know what to do." "Yes," Rachel replied gently. "You do." A week later, instead of standing at an altar, I met Emily at a quiet cafe. We talked for 9 straight hours, about the years we lost, about the people we'd become, about forgiveness. Nothing magical happened overnight. Love doesn't erase pain. Trust doesn't rebuild itself in a day. But sometimes life gives you one impossible second chance. 2 years later, Emily and I returned to the cemetery together. We stood in front of the headstone that still carried her name. After months of legal work, the records had finally been corrected. The cemetery agreed to remove the stone. As workers carefully lifted it from the ground, Emily slipped her hand into mine. She smiled. "I guess this is the first birthday I get to celebrate alive." I laughed through tears. "So, no more flowers here?" She squeezed my hand.